leaders and administrators. This is a very exciting meeting this afternoon because this is composed of several and different educators, professionals, not just here in Thailand, but even around the world. And so let me welcome each one of us. I am your MC tonight. I'm Rolly Obidinjo. I'm now currently teaching at a government school teaching science, where I've been an educator for more than 20 years already. And so this will be exciting. During this pandemic, we have some issues in how we can make difference to our students. How we can make our learning sessions be student-centered and even exciting. And some of us have some challenges when it comes to emotional intelligence, how we can make it even maximize in the part of the students and even in the part of the learning process and for the teaching skills of the educators, the teachers. And so we have very good invited two speakers this afternoon, which will be introduced by Adelino Libato. But before that, let me just give you the sequence of the program so we will know what to expect this afternoon. Well, after my part, will be given an opening prayer by Reverend Wheeler, and then there will be an introduction to the guest speakers. Adelino Libato will give us an introduction just to give you a brief background about the one introducing the speakers. Adelino Libato is a co-board chairman, co-founder, and academic administrator of the California Prep International School. Well, he has a PhD in educational administration and management at Central Mindanao University. And he was my professor in college. Well, I was taking up theology and also in the master's program at Adventist International Institute of Advanced Studies. And so he has been my mentor. Currently, well, being a co-board chair, he is also one of the leaders of this ATELA, in which you are very much privileged to have this forum, this webinar this afternoon. And after my part, he will be introducing some of the preliminary aspects of this meeting. He'll be giving us some introduction and some promotions on what to do. And then we will have the first presenter, which will be introduced by him. And then there will be question and answer. Just feel free to ask, especially in the chat box. We will entertain your questions or anything you like to ask about the topic. And then the second, and there will be a break after that, 5 to 10-minute break. And then we will have the second presenter. And then there will be some question and answer again. We will maximize it. We'll be ending this afternoon at around 4 o'clock. So there's enough time for us to interact. So we can really air out and listen to each other how we can maximize our learning. And after such will be some announcement by, and we'll be given a closing prayer. We would like to welcome again each one. And especially I'd like to give thanks to Faith News Media for hosting this event this afternoon, and also the team, the IT team, Kirk and Max, for designing this wonderful background and all the things that are needed for this webinar. Okay, now we'll give the chance to Reverend.
Shall we pray? Our eternal Father in heaven, we honor you for this hour to give praises and glory to you. As we have this webinar, learning, enhanced skills in teaching and leadership, may you bless us, Father, give us wisdom and Holy Spirit to enlighten us. And also, we'd like to pray for our presenters as they present insights in how we apply it in our daily lives. Father, we entrust everything to you. Bless all the participants and all the resource speakers. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our first speaker is Dr. Josephine Katenga. She holds a PhD and currently chairs the Master of Education program at Asia Pacific International University. His PhD is in curriculum and instruction, Andrews University, United States of America. She also got her Master of Science in Administration in the same from the same university, Andrews University, uh, USA, Bachelor of Arts in English, Solusi College, Zimbabwe. Our speaker, Dr. Josephine Katenga, has produced some publications and projects, such as working towards systematic change in a Christian school system. Following faith commitments, the successful transition from public high school to Adventist higher education. One purpose, multiple realities. Parental involvement in two Malawian private secondary schools. Reading comprehension of Thai students improved by extensive reading when learning English as a foreign language. So we are happy to give the time to Dr. Josephine Katenga uh, at this first session on student centered learning session. Dr. Katinga, there will be the highlights. You have the highlights of your presentation this afternoon as sent to you. So if Dr. Katinga is around now, we'd like to welcome her to our Zoom right now platform. Okay, Dr. Sherwin, Pastor Sherwin, is Dr. Katinga around now?
Let us find if it's a challenge.
Cut off.
We can wait for a little bit more, Doc. We're still waiting for Dr. Katinga.
Okay, while waiting, can we have some music first? She must be cut off now with connection there. Dr. Dr. Josephine, are you in now? Okay, hold on first. Continue with the music. She's just trying to get in the passcode. Yeah, this study this afternoon presentation is going to be very interesting
For just
because
$67.
we always talk about this, but we have not gone deep down into the components of student-centered learning. Another term for this is learner-centered learning. So there is now a shift from teacher-centered to student-centered. So this shift brings into focus the interests of the students, and there is the voice, the capacity of the students, the continuous monitoring of the interests of the students. And so this is going to be a very good study. The voice of the students is acknowledged here as central. So we'll be looking at this is also a way of looking at the competency-based program. So we'll take a look at that. Our main speaker has been into this for some time, so we'll give her the time now. Ajan Josephine, she has difficulty getting into the group. Well, Teacher Sherwin can just mind going on with the music first.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And so I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad.
Over there.
Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think.
That's a wonderful lesson. I believe the speaker is already here, Dr. Libato.
Yeah, significant relationship is part of student-centered learning because, you know, you put the interest, you give focus, you give choice, you give freedom. Ajan, Josephine, any issue with your side, on your side? Okay. I think you unmute now. I think that's okay.
The host can unmute.
Yeah. Dr. Josephine, can you hear me? There's a little problem on technical side. We have requested someone to
The
support.
host, yes.
Ajan, Dr. Josephine. Okay. Yeah, maybe we can. Yeah, you have a lot of, one of the best educators in this century is Rita Pearson, the one you just heard. And yeah, Ajan, what's the problem?
The problem
Yeah,
I have is that it's unmuted.
We can hear you. We can hear you now.
But I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
I can't. Without the phone,
Yeah.
I can't hear
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
Yes.
No problem. Go ahead now. Share with us.
Yes.
While we are looking for someone to. Okay.
Is that
Ajan,
so?
go ahead.
How do I hear any reactions there?
No. The reaction will be after your presentation. Don't worry. We'll ask somebody to help you there.
Okay.
I'll contact Dr. Agustin. Go ahead. Share with us.
You can monitor the
Okay,
chat box
just
as
1
well,
minute.
Doc. So you can see the reactions there. If you can hear, at least you can read the reactions in the chat box.
Right. Okay. Let's proceed.
Will you please give me Would you please give me the power so I can share my PowerPoint?
Done, Doc.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Doc.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Jan, go ahead, Dr. Josephine. We can see the screen now. And we can hear you loud and clear.
My apologies to the audience and to the dignitaries. I am sorry that my audio is not working on this side, and I do not know whether you can hear me very well, but I would like to just thank Dr. Libato for inviting me to speak this afternoon to present on student-centered learning. And my topic this morning is on student-centered learning as we see the many problems we face in the classroom, especially right now with COVID and teachers having to go to class in person, and sometimes they have to virtually teach. So I know that each one of us has experience in education, and some of us have taught longer than others. Therefore, you have a lot more experiences and have strategies that you use in your classroom. This session is just a reminder. I know we have lots of teachers here. I'm not sure whether we have students, but it is a reminder of what we already are practicing in our classrooms. If the strategy that I'm going to talk about this afternoon is not one of those strategies that you use, I do hope that you would have learned something from the session. And for those teachers that have been teaching for long, maybe we can just share ideas and contribute to this discussion afterwards. In this section, I have two objectives. The first one is to talk about student learning and its benefits. And then at the end of that, I am going to talk about 5 pedagogical approaches. So these are my two objectives: student-centered learning and flipped classroom strategies. I don't know how many people have used flipped classroom strategies, but before I go to talk about flipped classroom strategy, I want to talk about 5 pedagogical approaches for student-centered learning. And we all know that there are quite a few strategies and they are approaches that we read in our books. And one of those is constructivist approach. Students construct their own knowledge. And then we have the inquiry-based approach, students learning groups. We have the integrative approach, where there's an integration of various subjects so that a student can have a full understanding of whatever they're learning. And the last one is the reflective approach. This reflective approach is often used in conjunction with another approach. And I would like to start with the constructivist approach first. Constructivist The constructivist approach, sorry for I'm just so, what shall I say, agitated right now for all what has been going on, right, trying to get online. The constructivist learning theory states that learners actually learn when they're actively engaged. It's involving the process of constructing their own knowledge. The student will come to class with knowledge that they already have. The student construct their own knowledge and use their schema or pre-existing knowledge to interpret and understand what they're learning. They also attach new content to the prior knowledge and meaning. And so students will ask themselves, what do I really want to know? They will ask themselves, what do I need so that I'm able to know? They will ask themselves about the methods they can use to learn that material. And then there are the assignments that they use to apply knowledge. But the biggest issue here is that the student himself comes into the classroom with prior knowledge that they use. The second one is the collaborative approach. The collaborative approach is when students actually work in groups. It capitalizes on the learner's resources and skills, asking each other for information. The students who work together evaluate each other's ideas. The students monitor each other. And this approach is actually based on the model that knowledge can be created within a population or a community where members actively interact. They share experiences and take on at least interrelated roles. One is doing this and the other one is doing that, and together they come up with a project. For example, a teacher assigns project, and one of them will write the introduction, and another one will write the rationale, another one will analyze the data, and together they come up with a good project. The third pedagogical approach is inquiry-based approach. With this approach, students explore a subject. They do research and engage in experiments. This active learning approach starts by posing a question, looking at problems or scenarios that a teacher has posed. They present the facts after they have done some research. It also includes problem-based learning, and this is generally used in small-scale investigations, projects, and as well as research. The approach helps students to develop and practice practical thinking skills, and it actually helps students to gain critical thinking skills. For this to be effective, the teacher must make sure that they assign real-life problem cases that they can use. Dr. Libato, are you there?
Yeah, go ahead. Very clear.
Since I cannot hear anybody,
No,
I would
we don't.
appreciate
You
if I could
present.
mute myself while they are working on the volume for me.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I'm
okay
not
here.
sure whether people are hearing me. I'm not sure whether.
No, we are all here. We are all here. We are all
Just
here.
1 minute, please.
Yeah, we have 61 gadgets connected now. And actually, we have more people in some areas, groups in some areas. So we have a good number of people with us. And don't worry, if there's some problem there, you don't see us. We'll try to get one to. Yeah. Okay. Pastor Evan, can you hear me? Okay. Dr. Josephine just go ahead, no problem. We'll have the interaction later on. We'll be asking some of you to share with us some of your questions, if any. And when there are questions, we will also encourage you to participate. Share with us your experiences. You have 1 minute, or the longest will be 2 minutes to share with us. We want this to be an interactive one.
It's
But
not unmuting,
for
sorry. The
for the
third one
first
is
part,
inquiry-based,
go ahead.
which I have already discussed. And then we have the integrative approach, as I said at the beginning in introducing it. The integrative approach works when different classes are merged together, separate subjects are taught together. For example, you may want to teach reading comprehension with science and writing. As the students are working in science, they start writing assignments. They have projects which they have to write, and they are reading some stuff that they can include in their projects and writing. So things like that work better because the student learns how to write and at the same time while they're learning science. The last one is the reflective approach. The reflective approach is when the student, this time let me say the teacher, once the teacher has finished doing his work, he needs to reflect on whether the students learned, whether his methods that he was using or her methods she was using are going to worked in that class, and whether he should be changing the strategy or the methods or even the lesson itself, and also looking at how the students actually reacted to his class. And for the students, they should be able to think about metacognition. That is thinking about learning. How do they learn? Thinking about thinking about the way they learn, thinking about whether they have done well, and looking at their own styles of learning and seeing whether those styles work. And at the same time, they should be able to assess themselves to ensure they are on the right track. And basically, they can ask themselves the questions: what am I trying to do to learn? What went well? What did not go well? How might I improve? How might I think differently? These 5 pedagogical approaches guide teachers to engage students in experiential active learning. Now, I was hoping that I would have the volume on because the next part was to ask you to do a small exercise on our metaphors for learning. But while he's working on that, let me just talk about this. In our education system, in essence, we should be developing student skills. Education should provide physical development, it should provide social development, mental development for the child. It should actually develop the child fully, wholly. However, many times in the classroom, we concentrate on the mental. And of course, we may deal with some social here and there, especially if the child is misbehaving, if there's a lot of problems in the classroom. But mostly, we work a lot on the mental development. Why do we concentrate on the intellectual? Now, this is something that I wanted people to respond to me, but I cannot, unfortunately, I cannot see you, and I'm not sure how to go about this, okay? I wanted to ask, why do we concentrate on the intellectual more than these other things that we do?
It's okay, Ajan. Go ahead first.
I'm
We
wondering
will
whether
give
we can
we'll
put
give you the
something in the
comments
chat.
later. We'll listen to the participants later.
Just one or two things. I can't see my chat because I'm in that and I wanted us to talk about this. Anybody who would like to respond to this question? Why do we concentrate so much on the intellectual? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Anyone would like
Okay.
to
Why
respond
do we
to that?
concentrate so much on the intellectual?
Why should we put too much emphasis, concentration? Why on the intellectual? Anyone from Ajan Josephine, you might be able to read your chat messages there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear a thing from.
Okay.
So I guess I'll just continue working on this and talking about it, because I
go ahead.
expected to talk about some more on this thing. We have problems actually because each one of us has a worldview. I'm sorry, they are working on my, and it keeps flipping backwards. Each one of us has a worldview. And some of us use one worldview and others use a different worldview. Some of us use an eclectic worldview. I may decide that I would like to teach the students using student-centered way, or I may decide I would like to teach them teacher-directed type of teaching. Worldviews are important, and we need to be aware that teachers, because of their worldview, they influence how they think and how they educate students. In curriculum and instruction, metaphors are used to determine and express one's educational philosophy. There's one easy way of actually knowing what type of worldview you have. And I was hoping also to ask for 1 minute if people could just think of a worldview they have and think about a metaphor that goes with that worldview. I was going to, for an example, I was going to talk about the gardener. I see myself as a gardener. And because I see myself as a gardener, the metaphor of a gardener, you go out and prepare the soil and provide manure and put up the props so that the creepers do not fall on the ground. And then the role of the plant itself is to absorb the energy from the sun and also the nutrients from the manure that you have put. So I look at myself as a gardener. That's my metaphor. And I wanted for 1 minute people to just put in the chat what they think their metaphor is about teaching. Can you check whether my speaker is unplugged? Because that's what I'm seeing here. Can somebody speak and see so I can see whether I can hear?
Jan?
But can you speak?
Dr. Josephine? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you very much.
You can hear me. Okay, that will be
Yes.
fine. Great.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
I will increase the volume now. All right, thank you very much. Now, I'm sorry about the problems here. I don't work in the office. I work at home because of COVID. So I didn't know that my computer has been dismantled and things like that. So that was the biggest problem. Okay, so I was talking about metaphors, and I was saying, for myself, I look at myself as a gardener when it comes to teaching, because I help the teacher, the student, I prepare the students and I give them the information, and I allow them also to absorb what I'm saying, and they themselves can do certain things. All right, and I was asking if other people out there have different metaphors. I would appreciate even if it's only one person who would say what their metaphor is. If there's one brave soul who would talk about their metaphor. All right, I do not see anybody in the chat. And so I will just continue. As I said, metaphors are very important. And unfortunately, when you have the wrong worldview, your teaching will follow your worldview. It will affect and influence your worldview. Worldviews actually affect students as well. And we have to view ourselves, look at ourselves and see what our worldview is. And at the same time, as I said, in the curriculum, everybody has, as you teach, as a teacher, everybody has a worldview, and that affects their students as they learn. Dr. Libato, let me ask, how much more time do I have?
You stop at 2:25, including the question and answer. So you have enough time.
Okay, 2:25. Okay, thank you. Now, when you look at these worldviews, we have to think about the ideologies behind them. These worldviews are affected by the ideologies behind them. And there are several ideologies. In curriculum and instruction, there are these philosophies or ideologies we learned transfer into curriculum ideologies and affect our teaching. So your worldview transfers into your curriculum ideology and affects how you teach. And there are quite a few of those. I'll just briefly go through them. The first one is a scholastic academic ideology. We know about this. This is what happens most time. We are the teachers, we know more about teaching, and so the students don't know much, so we start banking information into them because they are neophytes. We feel that they don't know anything. Unfortunately, we treat all students the same, even though there's diversity in knowledge, diversity in culture, diversity in everything. We teach them the same. And our only aim is to make sure that they learn the academic stuff. And then we have the social efficiency ideology. And this, we actually use it a lot in our course outlines because we are organizing the learning to allow curriculum objectives to be efficient. We are supervisors of this type of learning. So we are directors and we prepare the environment to ensure that everything is efficient. But when we look at the child, we feel that not interested in the children. The teacher is not interested in the children, they are interested in the process. We also have the social reconstruction ideology that looks at social needs, and that's the needs that come from the community. So we use that. The teacher is a colleague. You work with the students, and the teachers do not know everything, but share knowledge with students. They use a lot of experiential learning and discussions. And they look at the children as meaning makers. And then the last one is learner-centered, which I'm going to deal with now. That's what the issue is about my presentation. Learners, we look at them, their needs and their interests. The teacher is a facilitator. He's not a teacher who stands up front and starts talking. He is facilitating the students' learning and engaging them in higher order thinking. And the child, in actual fact, is an active learner who has experiences, who has understanding, prior knowledge that he comes with to class. So this learner-centered ideology basically is more constructivist than any of the ones that we have done. Now, I'm going to move on. Every teacher, as I said, adheres to one or two ideologies. So many times we are eclectic. We don't stick to one thing. And if your ideology is that you are the master of the subject and the student doesn't know, you will take full responsibility. But if you really believe that the students know something, you will help them to construct their own understanding of what they're learning. In this 21st century, there are a lot of skills that we want our children to learn. I pulled this up from Google. You'll find it there. And it's because our children are not like us. When we started learning, teacher was teaching us everything and we copied whatever he said. We never bothered, the teachers never bothered about critical thinking. We regurgitated everything that the teacher said. You know, you read your notes, you memorized your notes, and you did all that. But today, we want the students to learn critically. They must have communication skills, creativity, problem solving, and so on and so forth, as you can see here. So, what do our own 21st classrooms look like? I wish somebody would talk about what their class looks like. I see a sentence here: a teacher can see himself as a compass, point and direct students in the right direction. Thank you for the metaphor. I didn't look at it that time, but this is true. A teacher can do that as well. Okay, so as I was saying, we have a lot of 21st century skills that we as teachers need to teach in our classrooms. So, what type of students are we dealing with? What is their behaviors in the classroom? And what about outside the classroom? What I see, as everybody knows, students even bring their phones into the classroom. And you see some students, while the teacher is teaching, they are busy on their phones. And you have to tell them, no, I don't want anybody using their phones in the classroom. However, I know also that we can use that gadget for the students to learn. However, many of us, me included, I'm not so very good at technology. So even though they bring those phones into the classroom, I'm not able to utilize them well. What type of teaching strategies are you using that helps them to learn? That's something that we need to be thinking about as teachers. It looks like some teachers are using teacher-centered. As I know in Asia, many of us, even where I am, we use teacher-centered methods. When it comes to student-centered methods, we always think that it's just too much work because you have to organize the materials, you have to organize the groups, and you have to organize this and that. And you find that it's very difficult to do. And some people think in student-centered classroom, what will happen is you will have a lot of noise and some students will be misbehaving. So they prefer to be the ruler up front. I'm going to be the teacher and you are the student. And so we often go back to our teacher-centered learning strategy. There are two types of teaching approaches. As I have said, there's student-centered and then there's the teacher-centered, which I'm saying most of us like to do the teacher-centered approach. Here we are. The teacher-centered approach is a traditional classroom, as we know. And that's what, as I said, has been the type of strategy that has been used, approach that has been used for many years. And with our students today, we cannot use that. What happens is that the teacher plans a curriculum, he fosters everything by making them memorize their stuff. There's very little critical thinking going on. The teacher believes one size fits all. And I can tell you, when it's teacher-centered, what we do mostly, we are teaching the very bright students who actually sit up front, while as the ones that are not bright are sitting at the back. And many times we concentrate on those students. Here is the difference between teacher-centered and student-centered learning. I don't have to go through all this, but you can see some of those things which are quick. Teachers and course material are seen all as all-knowing. Knowledge is seen as fixed. This side is different. Teachers and course materials can be wrong. Teachers are for learners. I agree with that because as you teach, you find students can come up with a lot of information that you can learn from, especially now that the internet has masses of knowledge out there. You have a lot of knowledge that you can learn from the internet. And you have some students come in the classroom that know something that you also don't know, and you can learn from that. Assessment is done only by teacher, while as in the student-centered, students can assess each other. Students also do assessment, peers, they assess each other, as well as self-assessment that is done. I know in some of these classes, people who are doing direct instruction do this, but not everybody does it. We prefer to do our quizzes and our projects, and we are the ones that actually grade them. One way of teaching, the didactic method predominates. So this one is that the teacher is always up front, multiple ways of teaching, a lot of strategies. So those are the differences between teacher-centered and student-centered. Now, there are principles for student-centered learning. Students' learning is personalized, knowing that the individual can work by themselves. They can study by themselves and learn something. And they also work according to their needs. In some classes, they use competencies. But in some classes, they only use objectives, but in some classes, you use competencies. Skills and knowledge that the student must master instead of learning from book cover to cover. Those are the things that can be done. Just like the projects they do, teachers respond to individual needs. They do not respond to what they have planned, but to what students need to learn. Learning sometimes happens anywhere. So you can take your class outside and they can learn out there, or you can take them in groups and so on and so forth. And as you know, there's a lot of activity going on. And the last one actually is the use of technology. Today, we are using a lot of technology. What are the benefits? As you can see, I wish people could talk to me, but here we are. There are students choose topics, active involvement, students construct their own knowledge, students are self-directed, students move around in the classroom, they don't have to sit still. They integrate learning and solve problems. They use formative and summative learning, but this sometimes is what the teacher plans and teaches them when it comes to assessment, because they cannot just assess themselves anyhow. So the teacher must plan the assessment and teach them how to do it. And students learn self-assessment and self-regulate. And in this student-centered benefits, the biggest issue is that the child learns to self-regulate and can learn metacognitively. They will learn all the things they need for teaching themselves or working with the others. Student-centered methods, there are several of these, which I'm looking at right now. Are you able to see this well? Are you able to see? I just need a node. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We have project-based learning. And I think many of us know about this. Students work on real-life issues such as community projects. You have problem-based learning, shorter projects that examine current problems. In this, students collaborate, teachers facilitate and enable them to connect with the community. You have Jigsaw. This is from cooperative learning. Cooperative learning has a lot of strategies, think, pair, share, and so on and so forth. So Jigsaw is one of those strategies that help students learn better. They will read an assignment and they go into groups, and then the groups, those you have chosen, they will, in different groups to read certain things, they come together and learn about the issue. And after they have learned about the issue, they go back to their original group and tell them what they have learned. And then there's a flipped classroom strategy, which I am going to talk about just now, and then inquiry-based learning. The inquiry-based learning, as you can see here, why is it important? Why is it important? Because 75% of what we do, we retain. Only 10% of what we read, we retain. Only 5% of what we hear, we retain. So if you can combine these, what they do, what they read, and what they hear, they will be able to learn better. So that's why inquiry-based learning is very important. Now, flipped classroom. I'm going to go straight to the flipped classroom. The flipped classroom is a strategy that not many people use. The portion of the lecture is done at home. The student learns it at home. And another portion of the learning is done at home. So a portion of the lecture in class is done outside of the classroom. And assignments and projects are done in the class. Why do I think this is very important? Today, our students go home to learn. Sometimes it's in class, in person. And with COVID, one day they're telling us, you are okay, you can come to class, your student can come to class. The next day here in Thailand, they are saying, no class, because in your community, there's a lot of COVID. And you have to, for us here, you have to get to 90% vaccinations before you can have in-class type of lesson. So with that, many of our students are not on campus. And I know some schools it's the same, many of the students are not on campus. Now, when you start to try to use flipped learning model, it helps because what happens is their learning is done at home. When you meet on Zoom, then you can help them work on the assignments that you gave them before. Now, there are two important theories that underpin these instructional strategy. Everybody knows about Bloom's taxonomy. they have added some more. Other people are writing, and they have come up with the metacognition and self-regulation and all that to add to what students need to learn. However, in the classroom, mostly we do the remembering. We do the remembering and the understanding. And then the harder stuff, the high-level thinking skills, we send them to do them by themselves at home. So instead of helping them with the assignments that you have sent them to do, applying what you have taught them in the classroom, telling them to evaluate something, creating something, you are not doing that. They are not with you when you're actually doing so. Instead, you've just told them what they can do by themselves. They can memorize, they can understand the material. If it means understanding, yes, we do teach a little bit for them to understanding, but remembering for sure, they can remember by themselves. So that's the biggest issue that we have with our classrooms this day. We usually concentrate on understanding and remembering. But what I know is that the lower order thinking skills are necessary for the higher order thinking skills. So it's not that it's wasted if we are teaching students to do this. However, we are not teaching them how to do the higher order thinking skills. In our classrooms, as I said, we do not want to assign assignments, to assign problems that they can do. Sometimes that's what they need to be doing at home. In this model, homework is what you concentrate on. You give them the information to read at home. You create videos that they are going to read, to view. And then when they have seen that, when you come to class, you give them the bigger projects or creating things, or you put them in groups so they can learn from it. The second theory is Vygotsky's theory. Individuals learn and develop with their role within their role in the community. And basically what we know is that we all learn when we are socially involved. So this is what Vygotsky says, learning is mediated by social interaction. But one of his theories that everybody knows about is zone of proximal development. I'm not sure I say everybody, maybe I should say students and people who have gone to school, the zone of proximal development. Here I'm saying the difference between, I quoted this, it's a difference between a student's actual development level as determined by independent problem solving and the student's potential development as determined through problem solving under an adult guidance or collaboration with more capable peers. What does that mean? Simply is that it is a gap between what the student knows and what he needs to learn, but cannot get there without scaffolding, without a teacher helping them to get there. So Vygotsky is well known for this. Okay, I talked about a flipped classroom. Here are the elements of the flipped classroom. You must have technology, and you can use Zoom, Google Docs, Moodle, phones, WhatsApp, and I know there are millions of things that you can use in the classroom. Helps teacher provide differentiated instruction for diverse students. Definitely, because you can work one-on-one with a student. Students take responsibility of their learning and are able to use a variety of different ways of learning, because when you bring them into the classroom, they are going to learn certain things. And if they don't, you work with individuals or you work with groups, so they are able to learn. Students engage in self-assessment and self-reflection. So this is what happens when you meet on Zoom. When you are not together, if you are virtually teaching, if you are not together, then you give them the information. The most important aspects of flipped classroom is that one, in sending resources to students, teachers should not rely on students reading the textbook. Because many times, if we are going to ask them to go and learn at home, we will tell them, read chapter 1 or read chapter 2. But teachers should create podcasts. These are short videos of lessons which could be conveyed in a lecture that includes graphs, figures, illustration, and photographs, so that the student can see this, the very things that you would have been doing in the classroom is what you put in your video. The videos should be actually short, because if you are sitting there to listen to a video for a long time, you lose concentration. So on your video, you talk for a few minutes and ask questions to direct them to the information or concepts they need. If you have explained something and you want them to see more, they can go into the textbook to read that. However, I know it's easy to just send out an audio recording. The audio recording does not give the same information as a podcast or a video that is supposed to go out to the students. Well, having said so, I talked about those approaches that are at the beginning. And mostly all those 5 approaches I talked about, the constructivist approach, the reflecting approach, the collaboration, and so on, can be used in a flipped classroom. And when you think about other strategies, cooperative learning, you can use it with flipped classroom when they come back into the classroom. Once again, let me explain this. First, you are sending information and the material that the students want to learn home with them. And if you are doing the in-person, that's what you would do. You send it home with them. If you are doing virtual classroom, you send it to them by email. There are podcasts that they can use. So they'll be able to use that. But when you come back into class, instead of just lecturing and telling them things, the children would have had questions, would have understood the material. This is the time you're going to give them assignments, and they will sit down and start working either by themselves or in groups so that they can finish those assignments and they can have critical thinking skills, collaboration skills, and all those 21st century skills that I showed on this PowerPoint. Having said so, I've come to the end of my presentation, but if there are any questions and comments, I would appreciate them.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to Ajahn Josephine. Good. All right, time for questions, comments, questions and answer. The request will be whatever comments we say will be aligned with professionalism and respect. We may disagree agreeably, and it's good we can share. We don't want the presenter to answer. We want to help all of us. Share your ideas with us. Any questions? Any comments?
There is one question, Doc, here. How can I apply these approaches, strategy if it's my first time to teach? This is according to Maria.
Okay. There are books that are online that you can read to prepare yourself for teaching in a flipped classroom. And as I said, much of it that you do when you come together with a student is cooperative learning. And unfortunately, if you have not learned about cooperative learning when you're preparing to teach in your education, it will be difficult. But if you have had some training on this, on cooperative learning, it will be easy, because all you do is read what they have said, do what the podcasts, and send the materials that you want your students to learn. And then you come in class, you start asking them questions. You give them a project to do, or you do an assignment that they are going to be responding to, and that's what happens. And it's simple. It's just flipping the way we teach. We teach, we lecture, and then after we lecture, we have them applying what you have taught a little bit there, and then finally you give them a big assignment that they go and do at home. And this time you're flipping it, you give them that information at home so they can read it at home, and then you come back in class. Even virtually, when they come together, you can put them in the breakout rooms with the question, and they can work wherever they are. So it's that easy. It's not a difficult one. The only difficulty with this is that it needs time for you to plan.
Thank you, Ajan. So any more questions? Yeah, the question is really relevant because some of you may be newcomers in the field of teaching. So we are not saying flipped classroom is the best and student learning is the best strategy. We are saying this is one option depending upon the subject matter, depending upon the activity.
Yeah.
Student-centered, we want more student activities.
Yes.
Student-led activities, Ajan, right?
Yes. And let me say also that sometimes if you have big classes, it's very difficult to do this, especially cooperative learning, because you need to monitor and supervise everybody. So it's not something that you can do every single day if you are using multiple strategies for your teaching. You could easily use the direct instruction, which according to research is really doing well, especially for teachers that are new, because it's more like the lecture itself, but they have added a lot of things in it to incorporate the cooperative learning strategies. So with the direct instruction, you may be able to get that type of information, and you can use whatever you get in the books. As I'm saying, for flipped classrooms, there are a lot of books out there for colleges, as well as for secondary schools, as well as for primary schools. You can find these books online. On Amazon, you just type flipped classroom, a lot of it will come to you, and you can buy, or you can get the PDF that you can read. You may ask, what if students don't understand the material? As I say, you can actually produce videos, and they can listen to the videos, and then you can explain in class. It doesn't mean that you will not lecture. There are times for that. You can actually stand up there and do a brief lecture before they actually go. I see a question here: when, on what condition, or to what level of learners should each of the approaches be used? It depends how experienced you are, because you can use cooperative learning even at the on grade 1. You can start your students in grade 1 to learn about cooperative learning, teaching them how to be together and work. But in secondary school, if your schools are small, then you can use this very well. In college here, we use it. Some of us use it, some don't. So it depends on your understanding of the different approaches and how you can use them. It's a matter of you learning what they are so that you can use them. There's another question: what will I do if the level of student is diverse in one class? Oh, this is easier because, as I said, you can put students in groups and you can diversify the group. If in cooperative learning, those who have done cooperative learning, you can do a group where you're looking at a student's level of understanding and possibly the bright students, you put one bright student in that group and then the others, so he can help others. You can mix them. Sometimes if you know for sure that these people will not understand from the students, you can put all the ones that are low academics, that have low academic skills, put them together, and then you as a teacher can sit with them and continue to talk to them so that they understand. So there's different ways of dealing with this when you are doing flipped classroom or cooperative learning.
So we always, Jan, we always encourage our teachers to go for differentiating instruction, right? Categorizing our students into high achievers, average, and low achievers. And you are saying the high achievers can be divided so they can take the lead and they can
different
teach.
groups. Yes,
teach,
in different groups.
Help students to teach, and when they teach, they learn 90%.
You mix them, because if you don't mix them, some of those will not learn. If you only put the ones that are low achievers, it's going to be a problem unless you as a teacher have decided to sit there and help them. But when it comes to cooperative learning, you want them to, each of the students, to learn to have a role in learning in the group. So each one will be given an assignment, or they will assign each other on what they need to do. And if they don't understand, the teacher is there to help them. But if it's a big class, that's why I'm saying if it's a big class, it's very difficult to manage it, because you have to go to each group to see what's going on.
Again, the question again on if a teacher has almost 90% hyper student, super active student.
I see that. Your best start with rules. At the beginning of the semester, if you start with involving your students in coming up with rules for the class, they will buy into it. And if they buy into those regulations and rules in your classroom, having a flipped classroom will be easy, because they will be able to deal with each other. Because if you make them the ones that are actually meeting the punishments to their own friends, they will find ways of ensuring that there's not monkey-like hyperactive learners. The problem is that with cooperative learning, each person who is doing the project gets the same grade. So if some other students in that group are not pulling their weight, or they're just monkeying around, the other students who are with them, they are going to say, but we don't want you in our group. So that happens a lot. How do we apply these approaches for online class? As I said, for putting, the goodness with Zoom is that you have the breakout rooms. And I'm not sure, for the younger children, it may be difficult, but for students who are in grade 6, 7, 8, if you put one person to be in charge with that group, and then you give them an assignment, and then you as a teacher go into that room often to see what's going on, you'll be able to manage it if it's online. So as I said, flipped classroom are really good for online, because you can do this. When you give them the assignments, you put them in their groups. You as a teacher enter those groups every time you want to find out what's going on in that group. And then they will be able to behave, and you can punish them if they are not taking control of the work.
That's why, Ajahn, in this presentation, Ajahn, instructional leadership is very crucial. Principal, the heads of school, the leaders, section coordinators, take a look at the professional development of the teachers and the achievement of the students, because this is why you have learned strategies. Dr. Josephine is presenting to us this kind of model, student-centered. There is also teacher-centered. There is also subject-centered. It depends upon the situation, what you are going to achieve. That's why when you say teaching strategies, there are 5 families, big families that you say you have direct instruction, you have indirect instruction, you have independent study, you have experiential, experiential. This is something, experiential learning. Uh, uh, the indirect interactive also is one family. So when you say teaching strategy, Ajahn is saying you are a teacher. You're given the tools. You have tools to use. Which tool is most effective at this point? So you have the sequencing in your presentation, introduction, uh, uh, you have the induction set, you have the presentation, you divide strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3, then the closure. Your strategies, teaching strategies, are tools for you to deliver, to assist your students in achieving the predetermined objectives or outcomes. So you have many ways. Which one? Considering number one, you have to consider the materials you are delivering aligned with your standard. Number two, consider the expertise of the learners, the capabilities of the learners, and the current stage of the learning mastery. Because if the learner has not had the basic, very difficult for you. That's why differentiating instruction should be used. You give assignment, different assignment to the low achievers, to the high achievers, different assignment. Now enjoy learning. You enjoy learning and have fun when you are learning a lot of teaching strategies. And this is a challenge to us.
If somebody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, I would say go ahead, please.
Look, here is a scenario of a foreign teacher coming to Thailand. Students don't speak English. Foreign teacher don't speak Thai. The level is primary. And here comes a very active, hyperactive class. Teacher, alai, lesson wani, alai. And you have your prepared lesson plan. Everything is in there. And the student would just grab something. Teacher, this one, I want this, I want this. How would you manage that in an online virtual classroom? And what teaching approach or should flip classroom learning model be applied to that?
It's one thing, the very first thing that any teacher should be thinking about is his relationship with the students. Because if the students don't see you as a teacher, they think that they can just come into class and play and be rowdy and do all these other things. Then you have a problem. That's number one. Number two, right at the beginning of the semester or the term, as I said before, you need to involve your students in coming up with rules for the class, whether it's virtually or in person. Because even on virtual, I have been teaching students here, and you find one student is on another line, and you can actually hear the conversations and so on and so forth. And you have to say, hey, will you please switch off your phone, or what are you doing? Because it's disturbing everybody in the classroom. But I noticed that it's because right at the beginning, I have not particularly told them what is expected in my classroom and what type of punishment will happen. At college level, that doesn't happen. But for primary schools, at least you can tell them, or I'll send you to the corner, or I'll stop you from watching, being in this virtual classroom. So you have to deal with those things, your relationship with the students and those rules right at the beginning, so that as things come, when you will see how things are going. And I know that happens. As you teach, you see, well, such and such is behaving this way. And then you bring them together, bring them to you, and you talk to them and ask them how they can learn, what you should do as a teacher to ensure that they learn. That conversation will be good, because because many times when students are rambunctious and they are doing all sorts of things in the classroom, it's because either they're looking for attention or some other thing is happening. So you as a teacher need to learn these things and be with it in making sure that these things are not happening. I understand what you're saying. It happens a lot, but it always has to be right at the beginning that this teacher has to think about what steps to take so that his classroom is orderly, what steps to take. And this thing about relationship with the children is big, because if the child thinks of you as a dragon, he will not learn. If the child thinks of you as, easy-go-lucky type of teacher, they'll just step on you all the time. So you have to take a balance there and see what needs to happen right at the beginning before you start the semester, so that slowly, yes, there will still be some students who are going to try you to see what you are made of, but those you need to find ways of working with them.
Ajahn, thank you very much for the wisdom. The reality, Ajahn, it's difficult for these people, because
I know, I do understand.
we have 40 students, 30, and 20 probably okay. But the problem is no language, not even a low intermediate. It's beginner and basic. So the idea when you communicate with English language, there no amount of fluency, no amount of educated professionalism will help.
The question I would ask is, I know you are ensuring that they are learning English right from the beginning, yes? But there's also the idea of having a translator where somebody just sits at the back to listen and then translate them in their language. So they at least they have some understanding of what's going on. Because if they don't have the language, whatever you say is just jargon that they can't understand. You can do anything that you want, but they may not understand anything that you're saying. So you may want to have a translator, or if you are Thai, or it's not if you are in a different country and it's a different language, you can use, and you know the language these children learn. You can use a bit here and a bit there of their own language so that they have an understanding of it. I know it's sometimes difficult to teach when a child doesn't know the language. And they will misbehave if they don't understand anything.
Thank you. So no language proficiency sufficient for the subject matter. There is no communication, no understanding, no leadership, no leadership.
Nothing.
No learning, no learning. Ajahn, thank you very much. And we would like to thank you very much for the insightful presentations. And so many people still would like to learn, and we encourage them to enroll at AIU or continue learning with us. And those of you who may have questions, you may stay by after 4 o'clock. We can show you more video clips or answer some of your questions some more. At this point,
I will send to you, Dr. Libato. I think, let me check whether I can find it. While Dr. Nelson is talking, I'll find it and then at least send it. It has all the strategies that you can use, not all, but a lot of strategies that you can use online.
Yes.
And some strategies that you can use in person classrooms.
Yeah.
So that would help. And these are cooperative learning strategies, as well as those approaches that I was talking about, that they can use to teach their classes. Now, let me just say one last thing. We know that direct instruction is, people don't like to talk about direct, teacher-centered instruction. But research now has found out that it has more benefits than cooperative learning, especially in the situations that you were talking about. And direct instruction, they have added all these cooperative learning strategies in direct instruction so that the teacher is able to chunk, is able to work with the children in pairs, in groups, and so on and so forth, once they have done their lecture. So that is something that you could work with and help these teachers to learn, because it's something in Asia, many times people are teacher-centered. They don't do cooperative learning at all. So if they are teacher-centered, the best way they can work on direct instruction, but using the research that has been done now, where it is giving dividends for students. They are learning and passing and being successful in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a hand again to Teacher Josephine. Again, thank you so much. Yes, your questions can be just put on the chat box. We'll entertain at the later part to extend our time.
Brother Mark, Dr. Libato can give you my email right now, and you can ask me that question. I'll respond to you. And if you have any more questions, there's still a question. That's what he's saying.
So many more will be asking questions, Ajahn. Since we don't have the luxury of the time, we would like just to give the email addresses of our speakers to you, and possibly we'll have more ideas where to put that, where we can have a forum here, exchange among our ATELA group team members. Thank you, John.
And thank you very much.
Dr. Adi, Dr. Libato.
Yeah.
We have something very special for Dr. Josephine. Our IT team has prepared for her. Go IT, ATELA IT team.
Yes.
Wow.
Pastor Lu, we now have her certificate of appreciation.
Okay, let me read to you this certificate of appreciation. This certificate is presented to Josephine Katinga for imparting her knowledge and expertise in student-centered learning principles as a guest speaker during the ATELA International webinar held via Zoom platform on January 16, 2022, given the 16th of January, 2022, signed Adelino T. Libato, PhD, Reben D. Huelar, MPH. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Again, thank you once again. And I'm very happy to have Ajahn here for the wonderful insights. This is just to introduce to you some of the concepts to inspire you to dig deeper, get into Google. Dr. Google will have all the answers. And the application, we can work together as a team. All right. Thank you, John. Let's now have a break of 5 minutes. Teacher Sherwin, 5 minutes. Then let's get back to the second session. And some of you have questions about what will be the other benefits we can get out of the ATELA International webinar. We'll share with you at the later part. Ajahn Josephine has been leading the education department there, and I'm very glad for her contribution to the building of our students at the Asia Pacific International University. Thank you. Let's have an interval, a break for 5 minutes. Yeah, interval, 5 minutes interval.
Dr. Libato, will you please call me?
Yes.
Now?
Ajan?
Will you please call me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. If you
Thank
can call me, I want to talk with you.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Rowley. Can you hear me?
Dr. Nelson, just hold. I just finished.
Yeah. Mr. Rowley, is it Rowley?
Yes,
Are you-
yes,
are you-
yes, yes, sir. Yeah,
are you
we
the
can
one-
hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, are you the one connecting us with the presentation?
Yeah, yes, sir. Also, Sherwin,
Yeah, if you can.
Dr. Naltan,
Dr.
Yes.
Aldi.
will begin at 2:45. We
Okay,
have
sure.
extended.
I just want to check my share screen. If it's working.
Dr. Libato,
Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying out.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay?
Yes, sure.
All right. You're saying how are you feeling today, right?
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, that's okay. I will share it later. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes. I only saw you here.
Okay.
It's time, Doc, for another presenter.
Okay, thank you so much, Teacher Sherwin. Welcome back, and let's get down to the next. And then afterwards, we'll have question and answer. After the question and answer, we'll also have additional dimensions we want to share with you. Right now, we have our next presenter is Dr. Naltan. So Dr. Naltan Lampadan holds PhD and currently Dean of Faculty of Education in Asia Pacific International University. So he got his PhD in leadership, Andrews University, USA, Master of Education, Avondale College, Australia, Bachelor of Arts, Children and Family Education, Edith Cowan University, Perth, Australia, and Diploma Elementary Education, Southeast Asia, Union College, Singapore. His research publications include Teacher Strategies in Integrating Faith and Learning at Faith-Based Institutions of Higher Education in Asia, Community Service and Religious Activities Involvement as Correlates of Citizenship Values among students at Asia Pacific International University, Thailand. Culturally diverse teaching competence of teachers as perceived by students at an international university in Thailand. Relationship of social integration and personal development among faith-based university students in Thailand. So we have also the last one, understanding the causes of anxiety and coping strategies of student teachers during their internships, a phenomenological study. So it's our privilege, the team of ATELA International Webinar, sponsored by California Prep International School, SCOS, and AIU, Asia Pacific International University, Dr. Naltan Lampadan on EI, Emotional Intelligence Leadership. Dr. Naltan, please take the time.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this privilege to spend time with you, even for a short time. Thank you for the kind introduction, Dr. Libato. And not just that, but Dr. Libato has been a resources person for my department as well. He has helped us in so many ways, and I really appreciate your service-minded to the church in general. And thank you, CPIS, for inviting me. I had a couple of my students, teachers who did an internship in your school, and they have a very rewarding, positive experience that they shared with me. And your schools is providing education for this region as well as for students around the world. So thank you so much for this privilege. I'm not saying that I know a lot about this topic. I'm always learning, and it's always my passion to work with teachers, teachers who have the desire to improve themselves. It's not because they want to be a better teacher, but they want to be a better teacher to serve the young minds, to help students, because they are our futures. And if we don't take care of them now, our future will look, unpromising. I always had the passion to work with youth and working with the development of young people. In fact, I have more than 20 years experience in teaching at the elementary level. And I know how hard it is, how difficult it is. And now I have the privilege to, in this position, to prepare students to be teachers where I was before. And with that experience I had for more than 20 years, in one way or another, I can relate to them what the future is going to be. But even then, I do not know exactly what the future is, because we all know that now teaching is no longer the same. I mean, in those days, who can, predict that we'll be teaching online, we'll be sharing and talking like this. But I have this principle in mind, or actually a philosophy. When people come to me, I have a lot of problems, I have a lot of challenges. And the only thing that I can tell them is that these problems, these challenges makes you better, a better person, a better teacher. But if you have the attitude to be willing, to be open-minded, to see how you can overcome those challenges. So when we see challenges, we see opportunity. All right. Okay, so that's how we look at here. And I'm going to share with you about the emotional intelligence as part of how we overcome these challenges that we have today. Now, let me share you my screen. All right. I hope you're seeing how are you feeling today. And after 1 year, 1 hours and a half sitting in a seminar, webinar, I know you feel tired, right? You feel like, oh, another one, can I survive for another 1 hour? But I hope that this sharing, I would say this is a sharing, not so much on a presentation, a sharing of how I look at things on this topic that would inspire you also to be someone that to be more emotional, not emotional in a negative way, but you have this emotion that would help you to be a better teacher. Now, what is actually emotional intelligence? I'm sure many of you have read a book, have heard people talking about EQ, emotional quotient. But lately, during my study in Andrews, I had the actually opportunity to meet this author. He's a very well-known and a person who are passionate about emotional intelligence. We always heard about intentional, call it, what do you call it, intelligence, all right? What do you call it, intelligence instead of emotional. But as I read more about emotional intelligence, I find out that emotional intelligence is, for me, could be even much, much needed in what we are in the world today. Rather, and of course, intelligence, it's important. We need people who have skills to do certain work. But without this emotional intelligence to come to that equations of how we perform, we may not able to maximize our ability to do the work. And especially when you are a teacher or working in a school, working with a group of people, we can't really get away from working with people. We always have this networking with people. Unless you're a computer teacher, you only deal with the computer. You don't have to worry about people, about meeting and making decision. You only take the decision and do it whatever you have been asked to do. But there are certain degree of emotional intelligence will take place. So emotional intelligence, sometimes referred to as EQ or emotional quotients. The term was coined by psychologists as early as in 1990s, and it's used quickly or spread into other areas, including business, education, and other popular culture. So EI, emotional intelligence, is the ability to understand, okay, listen carefully for this one, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions. Now, we are all human beings. We have emotion. We can get angry, you can get frustrated, you can be very happy, and in 1 minute you can be so sad. That's how emotion is. So with this emotional intelligence, you're able to understand why you feel this way, and then how you're going to manage that emotion, and not just your own emotion, but to those people who are around you too. And in our context here is you have your students, so your emotion will definitely affect your students, and student emotions will also affect your emotion. So they how strong and how powerful that is, emotion. So people with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they are feeling. First of all, they are aware of what feeling they have. Oh, I'm angry right now. I'm so sad right now. I've got discouraged now. I hate that person right now, whatever it is. Or you could be feeling, I'm so happy today. I'm so positive today. I'm so delighted today. And then you understand that, yes, that's my feeling today. And what the emotion means, the emotional intelligence will be able to interpret the emotion. What does that mean? Okay, what does it mean? And then they also know that their emotions affect other people. Have you ever been to a group, a meeting, or whatever event, and someone come and you're so excited to see this person? I love this one. I'm so happy to see him. Or you can also have that experience of someone come to your group and said, I don't like this person. And sometimes you don't understand why you don't like this person or why you like that person, or a group of students come to your class, or let's say you're a subject teacher and you go to grade 5 and you're all so happy in that class because, this class is the best, or whatever it is, whatever reason you have. And you go to another class, grade 5, the same, but your feeling is different. You're like, I don't know what to do here. I don't like to teach this class. No, that is normal. And that's how we are affected by that emotion. But by learning about emotional intelligence would help us to understand why you feel that way. And you understand how this feeling will affect you, and it will affect your students or others or your superiors or your colleagues. So that's how it is. Before we proceed, I'd like you to take maybe a simple emotional intelligence test. If you have a computer with you, you're on the phone, you can go to this link here. It's a simple one. It may take you only 5 minutes. Okay, let's do it just for the fun of it, and try to answer as accurate as you can. Be honest with yourself. Be reflective of yourself. That's how teachers develop. You're not gonna share your answers. It's only for yourself. Okay, no one would reveal that. I will not see it. I think Dr. Libato will not record your emotional intelligence level. It's for yourself. You know, as a teacher, we need to somehow be honest ourselves, be reflective in order to grow. And sometimes we have to take the bitter medicines in a way that to find out where are the area that you need to work on. Okay, let's spend 5 minutes. Okay, but after 5 minutes, I'll move on.
You can simply click the link that I have attached below. That's the link that our speaker wants us to answer.
Okay. I don't know if that's you have sufficient enough to look at it. I'll give you 1 more minute.
Still working, Doc.
All right. It's okay. We take things easy here. We are not, don't be too serious. Once you complete that, you click on, I think you can find the result right away. And there are numbers, all the numbers or results or the total numbers you have. there is a representation of where you are in terms of your level of EI. I can show you here. I have that on my PowerPoint as well. So while you're working, this is what the results show you. There are only 3 levels. If your score is within below 34, 15 to 34, this is what it says. You need to work on your emotional intelligence. You may find that you feel overwhelmed by your emotions, especially in stressful situations, or you may avoid conflict because you think that you'll find it distressing. It's likely too that you find it's hard to calm down after you have felt upset, and you may struggle to build strong working relationship. Okay, that's the area. If you belong to that category, the second category is between 35 to 55. It's a big range, about 20 points. So the lower, maybe the more things that you need to work on. Your emotional intelligence level is okay. You probably have good relationship with some of your colleagues, but others may be more difficult to work with. You belong to the higher part. It's great. It said you're emotionally intelligent person. You have great relationship, and you probably find that people approach you for advice. They feel like you can be trusted. You are calm. You are stable. However, when so many people admire your people skills, it's easy to lose sight of your own needs too. There is downside of being so. I'll mention that later, and I hope that this sharing today would help us to identify some of the things that we can work on and how this would help us in your teaching or in your work related situations. And let's move on. If you got 34, 15, don't be too discouraged. Yes, we're always growing. If you belong to 35, 55, you're okay. Don't stay there. You can still a space of improvement. And even in your 56 to 75, there's always space improvement. And I find that even I belong to this higher spot, but I feel that there's still a lot more things I need to work on. If that what do you call it, the test is not really reflecting of who you are, you think you can do other tests too. There are many tests available online. Maybe I will skip this one because this is not so important. This is a brief history of emotional intelligence. We don't want to memorize this historical part here. We I hate history anyway. I don't know. I don't like history. I like the presence. I mean, of course, we learn from past, but the most one is how we live our life today. I will skip this one, but I'll go this way. Why is emotional intelligence? Why emotional intelligence is the 21st century skill employers need? I always believe that EI is one of the, if not the most needed of everyone's today, because of the stressful working environment, highly demanded working environment, a lot of expectation, and how we're going to cope with that. And especially the pandemic have hit us, we have to change our teachings, platform, teaching strategies, in so many ways. And changing, I read a book that, to change is one of the difficult things. because we are so comfortable, used to what we've been doing in the past. Why change? But we are forced to change. And if we have the mentality or emotional intelligence in a way that I don't like change, I don't like this, I don't like that, you're gonna be miserable in your, your teaching, in your work, because you have to live in that expectation. Now, as a modern workplace continue to evolve, successful employers must or will need to master a skill of known as emotional intelligence. Research shows that those with high EI, I would say from now EI, have better job performance, mental health, and leadership skills. Okay, according to Daniel Goleman, research in his book, Working with Emotional Intelligence, EI accounted for 67% of the abilities deemed necessary for superior performance in leaders, and mattered twice as much as technical expertise or intelligence questions, which is our ability to learn. Now, EI related to ability to learn as well. When you have a positive mind, you are ready, you're willing to learn new things. But if you are not ready emotionally, sometimes, oh, why should I learn this? I'm good at this. So there is obstacles, a wall for you to break through from learning new things. And although Daniel Goleman is looking at this from the perspective of leaders, and we are all leaders in our own context. In the classroom, you're leaders. Maybe at home, you're a leader. In your community, in your group, you are a leader in so many ways. So there's no way for us to say, oh, I don't need that. I'm not a leader. But remember, I mentioned earlier, is you are a leader to yourself too, to understand the emotions and how this emotion affect you, your performance at school, performance at work, or even performance at home. We're relating to your spouse or your children or your parents or your siblings. We are leaders in many ways. Now, let me share with you the 5 elements of emotional intelligence. And you can master these 5, I believe, you have a control of your emotions and you are leader to your emotions. And when you have control with the emotion, you can lead anywhere, anyone, anytime. Because it has to start with us. All right. So let's look at this. I don't know if you can see the screen, but I can mention a few. I can discuss this with you. The 5 components of emotional intelligence based on Daniel Goleman is self-awareness, empathy, self-regulation. Sorry for the misspelling of empathy there. It's supposed to be E-M-P-A-T-H-Y. Motivation. And one of the most important things is social skill. Now, self-awareness. What is actually self-awareness? Emotionally intelligent people pay attention to what they are feeling. So always start with yourself. Why I feel this way? Why I don't feel good today? You understand your own feeling. Now, psychologists and author, that includes Daniel Goleman, identifies self-awareness as one of the key components of emotional intelligence, and that is very important. Self-awareness involves the ability to recognize your moods, emotions, feeling, and part of self-awareness also involves being aware of how your emotions and moods influence other people. So there are 2 steps of this self-awareness. You understand your emotions, and you're also aware of your emotion affect others. I'm sure you can agree with me at home. Let's say at home, if you're angry, your children, your wife also feel like uncomfortable, right? They also like what's going on. They're also feeling uneasy. But if you're happy, they also, it affect their feeling too. They feel happy because they have seen you happy. The same thing in the classroom. You come to the class with your joy, your passions, and when you teach a course with you enjoy that lessons, you can also help the students to enjoy the lesson too. I always tell my internship students, if you want the students to enjoy your lessons, show them that you're enjoying the lessons. You're passionate about your lessons. You're happy with your lessons. And therefore, you make some of these lessons a happy lessons. I'm sure your students also are happy students. Now, the empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is to understand how other people feel. You have a sense of, if I do this, it may make this person feel this way. So you put yourself in a sense that your feeling, how you behave, how you think affect those people. So according to Goldman's, this is the ability to understand the emotion of other people in order to interact with other people in multiple life domains, such as at work, at school. You need to be able to know how they feel. Many of us ask people, "How are you?" Right? Are you really asking them how they feel? Hi, how are you? Bye. All right. I have no time for you. I just say, "Hi, how are you? How are you?" Now, if you really want to know how they feel, you're asking the students of class, "How are you?" And if one of the students raised their hand and said, "Teacher, I'm not happy today." And most of us do not have the time to digest that, even response to it. Said, "Okay, I hope you will be okay soon." I mean, that's how we normally say. But if you are emotionally intelligent person, you find time with the students. What makes you unhappy? What happened? You going deep down there, looking at the roots cause of why this person is happy. No, many people normally they don't say I'm not happy if they really know. I mean, they feel like they can cope with that. But if they say that, there's something that we need to pay attention to. So if a coworker is upset or frustrated, knowing what he is feeling can give you much better idea how to respond. If sometimes you go to a room of a meeting and you look at the eyes of the people across your chair or your place, you can even understand their feeling through their eyes. And when you can sense those people who are struggling, discouraged, or nervous, that help us to respond or to react or to act in a more appropriate way so that we will not add to the stress of the person. In fact, we are going to be somehow a person who would help that person. But if you don't realize or you don't have this intelligence, emotional intelligence, you don't even know how they feel. You don't even care about how they feel. Okay, and that is something that we need to work on. All right, self-regulation. Okay, we are able to regulate our emotions. Okay, so understanding your emotion is great, and understanding other people's is important. But people who are self-regulated person, people who who think before they act on their feelings. They start thinking, they start processing this before they act of the feeling. Most of the people, when they're unhappy, you can see from their behavior. All right. If they're angry, you can see them from behavior. Now, for emotional, intelligent people, they are unhappy, but they have control over their behavior because they have time to process it. It's my act, it's my word, it's my behavior, it's helping me or destroying me. So people are in tune with how they feel, but they do not let the emotions rule their lives. There are many ways, many ideas. People said when you're angry, you go home and you punch the wall, right? Or you have a place for you to release the emotions. And I don't know how you're going to do that, but what important here is that we got to think: is my behavior helps me or helping the situation? Is my I'm happy. I'm angry or I'm upset. But what I'm doing with this, does this help me? Does this help the situations? That's how we rationalize the feeling. And if your answer is no, and then you will switch that behavior to a more positive way. And I like football. I like soccer. And as I grow older, I learned that, when I was younger, we have so much energy. When you're angry, you're going to kick someone's leg too. And it always doesn't help. You're going to have a fight. And then you're going to be, even a friend become an enemy. But today I learned that it doesn't work that way. So I normally tell my students, I also coach, I also do a referring for the students. I told them, if you are angry, the best way is you step out of the field for 5 minutes to 10 minutes until you come down and you're coming in. If you cannot overcome your emotion in 5 minutes, you better find someone to replace you, because it's not going to do any good for you if you're angry in the football field. It doesn't help. You're gonna be injured, or someone will injure you, or you're gonna have problems with fighting. Okay, motivation. Okay. Now, how does emotional intelligence related to motivation? Emotionally intelligent people are motivated to achieve their goals and not motivated, but they are capable of managing their behavior and feeling in order to achieve long-term success. Now, perseverance is part of motivation. You know that you've got the goal. You know that doing this and that, it takes so much energy, time and effort, and you're gonna be facing a lot of challenges. But at the end of this journey, you reach a goal because you are intrinsically motivated, not only extrinsically. So that's how motivation is when it comes to emotionally intelligent person. Your mind is that goal. Yes, you're going to enjoy the journey. Well, there's some rough journey. You're not going to be enjoying all the time. But whatever happened along the journey, you're going to arrive there because you're a self-motivated person. And the last one is social skills. This is very challenging for many people who have temperament or personality that they're not very socialist person. We have some people who are, kind of passive, introvert, but this is one of the things, elements of being socially responsive. Emotionally intelligent person. They have a great social skills. Because why? Because they are so attuned to their own feeling, and they have a feeling of others too. So they know how to deal with people who different kind of emotions, and that helps them to build a healthy relationship with the people around them. I'm not saying that you're gonna make friends with everyone and you are an easy person, but in a sense that you know how to treat people with respect, you know how to treat people with a sense of belonging. You are not only thinking about yourself, but you also empathize, you also care for other people's too. So that is the summary of these 5 elements of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, empathy, self-regulation, motivation, and skill. Okay, just additional information here regards to the qualities of emotionally intelligent people. They invest in personal growth. They focus on solution, not on problems. I mentioned it earlier. If there's a challenge, don't contemplate only on the problem, but finding solution. This is what emotionally intelligent people is about. They live in the moment, all right, at the presence. They celebrate the successes, take responsibility. They have a positive view on life, view on yourself, your family, your friends, your community, the students. I can imagine going to a class, you have someone mentioned about 40, 50 students in a class earlier. I can imagine you go to the class and your mind is thinking, wow, what I'm going to do with this 50, what do you call it, hard-headed, difficult students. Even before you try, even before you're coming into the class, you already start to give up. You're already saying, I'm going to have a hard time here because they are difficult students. You already set that mentality. But what if you change that to be more positive? Said, you know, it's hard, it's a reality. But today I am going to, have fun with this, these students, learning new things and helping them to learn a little bit of how to manage their emotion or whatever it is. So I'm saying here is, when God, he knows that we are sinners. We are, unsavable in many ways. But he came anyway. And he even says, my children, my sons and daughters, that set the tune of his mission is not to find faults with us, but to save us who are so hard-headed people, so what do you call it, unworthy people. But I'm not going to be there. But what my point is that we need to set our minds in a positive way before we coming into the class. This is what I am today. The students, whatever they do, it will not change my view on them. They are the youth, the future of this generation, or the future generation. And they will set the way, the tune, the way you speak, the way you behave, and the way you feel about the students. I'm not saying that that's easy. They're very challenging, but you could try and see what happened. When I was teaching in elementary school, the students actually, they're very sensitive to you as well. And when I was actually not feeling well that particular day, so I told this class, I could hardly actually speak. So I told them, today I'm not feeling well. There was like many years ago. There's no COVID yet. I was not feeling well. I can't speak loud. So you got to when you communicate with your friend and when you listen to me, speak softly so that you can hear me. And that's what I said. And I know you can do it. I know you're able to cooperate with me. So I put the trust, I put the control of behavior on them, not me telling them to be quiet, but I can't speak. I need your help. You know, that day, my class was so, my student was so cooperative. And they even come and say, sir, are you okay now? You know, I mean, they're so sweet. But of course, they are not like that all the time. But our emotion can be translated, can be transferred to the emotion too. All right. The next one is they are emotionally intelligent people embrace change. And this is one of the hardest things that not only me personally, but many of our teachers and many of my colleagues has to make decision to embrace change from traditional way, face-to-face, going to online, hybrid, and here and there. There are a lot of changes. But I guess the COVID-19 makes it easier for people to change from on-site or face-to-face to online, because that's the only way to survive. And it takes very quick, just a matter of months, even weeks. People start to use technology or multimedia or all this equipment to ensure that the students will get the lessons sufficiently. Now, let me go. I have, how many more minutes I have? Okay, a few more minutes, right? I need to stop by 4. All right. Research findings. Nearly 3/4, so 71 of hiring managers surveyed, they valued an employees with IQ or EQ over IQ, rather. A further 3/4, 75% said they would be more likely to promote an employee with high emotional intelligence. More than half, 59% said that they wouldn't hire a candidate with a high IQ and low EQ. Okay, so it depends on the context of the work. Okay, yeah, some people, they don't need even EQ to just deal with machine. That's probably will work for that kind of context. Of all the people we've studied at work, we found that 90% of top performers are also high in emotional intelligence. On the flip side, just 20% of the bottom performers are high in emotional intelligence. Okay, so this is the finding there. Let me go to this one. Okay, 8 classic signs of people with low emotional intelligence. We talked about what is emotional intelligence earlier, a while ago. But let's look at these 8 classic signs of people with low emotional intelligence. Always have to be right. I am the only know, you don't know. That's people who have low intelligence, oblivious to others people's feeling, behave insensitively, blame others for their problem, having poor coping skills, have emotional outbursts, like uncontrollable, struggle with relationship, turn conversation toward themselves. Have you ever been into a meeting or whatever it is, that everything is about me, I, and myself? That is a classic signs of a low emotional intelligence. You know, there's a say, just pop up in my mind, we learn from listening. We are not learning from talking. I don't know if God purposely make 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we want, or he wants us to listen more than talking. And this is how emotional intelligence is. We learn actually by listening. And not just listening, but digesting and evaluating and analyzing and whatever it is, and take what you can take to improve yourself. Because what you're saying, you already have it. It doesn't add anything anymore. But if you take things that you bring it to your brain, to your ears, and you, of course, you digest that, you evaluate that, and take something that would help you, will add to you, will add to where you are. Now, I think I'm not gonna, okay, let me go for a few more. Now, how emotional intelligence made a difference in the workplace? Now, think of your contact in your school, in your classroom, in your office, or wherever it is. How this makes a difference. First, being emotionally intelligent gives you the ability to understand the non-verbal communications. Many communications is not necessarily from what people say, from the words they say. You can also see from the non-verbal communication. By looking at your screen, some of your videos, I can sense some of you feeling tired, some of you are attentive, some of you are excited, some of you are like, I know this. I'm not saying that it's happened, but you can see, you can sense it. So you have the chance to fix a situation before it becomes a problem by looking at the non-verbal communication. For instance, if you notice a co-worker is displaying a non-verbal signs of sadness, you can see that from their eyes, from their facial expression. You might take them aside to understand what is going on. So this is one of the strongest elements of being emotional intelligence. You can read their feeling from their nonverbal communication. Number 2, understanding emotion allow you to be self-aware of personal emotion. You can use this skill to adjust your behavior before it becomes an issue. You say something and you see people are reacting to different ways, and you make an adjustment to the way you talk, the way you relate to them. So you're aware of how your emotions affect others. Number 3 is practicing emotional intelligence can help you develop strong interpersonal skills. That can help your team and inspire your schools or your team or wherever you work, you're working for. Emotions are contagious. I'm telling you, emotion is contagious. I have a brother, older brother. Every time he comes to mingle with a group of people, he always creates a sense of comfort, a sense of fun, and because he brings a lot of jokes, a lot of even non-verbal, people just feeling comfortable with him, and that is his strength. So he has these strong interpersonal skills. Even he doesn't have to say anything, but people feel so easy to be around with him, because having these strong interpersonal skills will encourage others to work with you, and you can be trusted because you already have a good relationship with them. Number 4, having an emotionally intelligent workforce promote progress. When people are empathetic and understanding of each other's emotion, employees can make decisions with ease and complete tasks more efficiently. There's a feeling of comfort of making decisions because everyone thinks that you put the best interest on them, not just for you. You put the best interest for the school, not for myself. And they know that because you have that traits of emotional intelligence. Number 5, emotional intelligence shares many of the same traits as leadership skill. For example, patience, active listening, positivity, empathy, and that can help you advance your leadership roles and skills. Number 6, motivating themselves, self-motivated. When you are motivated, you reduce the tendencies to procrastinate things, leads to improve self-confidence, and enable them to focus and achieve long-term goals. Okay, maybe I will not go through all of them, but I think I would stop here because probably it's nice if you have some questions. I can share this PowerPoint to you, so you can go through some of the PowerPoint that I supposed to do. Okay. Now, I would like to say one thing here. This is to conclude, and not to conclude, but just to keep you also aware of the down sides of being too emotionally intelligent, intelligent people. You have to be aware of this, because if you are emotionally intelligent individual, you might have a hard time delivering negative feedback because you don't want to, basically you don't want to hurt this person, because there are ways to do so. If you have a good trust relationship with the person and this person is willing to listen to you because you have already developed that relationship, yes, you can give a negative feedback. Negative feedback I'm saying is if the person is not doing certain things that he's supposed to be doing as a superior, a supervisor, a teacher telling students, you should be doing this and this and this and this. But back in your mind, you feel like, I hope he's accepting this, or I hope he's not hurt because of this feedback. Okay, that's the downside of being emotional intelligence. Second is, you need to be aware that your way of reaching out people will not be seen as manipulative or deceptive purposes. Some people might think that, oh, he's so friendly, he's so good. Maybe he has other agenda here. So be aware of that. But all this can be eliminated if you already work with these people and have developed a trust relationship in your understanding between you and those people. So I want to end this with some Bible verses that how Christians look at emotional intelligence. It's all here. Self-awareness. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. We need to be aware of that God is the source of strength. That's a self-awareness. We ask God to give you a complete understanding of what he wants to do in your life. God said in Isaiah, I have a greater purpose for you, not to harm you, but for a better future. That's a self-awareness. That we are created in his own image. We are created per a purpose. How about self-management? How do you manage ourselves? You have this Galatians 5:22, the fruit of the Spirit. This is how we manage ourselves. The rest you can read. How about empathy and social awareness? Yes, love your neighbor as yourself. How about social skill in a relationship? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. We are created to have a social relationship with others. And in Mark 10, verse 45, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. We are here to serve one another. And that's how the Bible put it in perspective of what we talk about today. That emotional intelligence is not just a philosophy or an idea, a theory, but it has been there from the foundation of this world, that God created us to be an emotionally intelligent people. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So
Thank
much
you, thank you.
insights today. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Naltan, please. Okay, time for question and answer. Any feedback, any comments from our participants? We have 67 registered gadgets now. All right. You may chat now, and then we'll ask some of our support team to read the questions. So
You can also give comments. So add
Yeah.
to what I say. Doesn't have to be question all the time.
yes,
You have some
Give-
experience that you can add into it.
yeah, it will be nice because we want this to be a way of an avenue for exchanging ideas. The idea of sharing and what you think and what you have. This is just an introductory section of this big thing. Any
there's-
comment? Any question?
There's a questions here. Some people are happy inside, yet shown sad outside. Okay. Happy inside, but sad outside. Is there? I know people who are sad inside, but happy outside. But not the other way around, like happy inside and sad outside. Yeah, I mean that is yeah, I understand that questions. People try to suppress that emotions because they don't want to be seen as a loser. They don't want to be seen as a weak person. They don't want to be seen as like unwanted, unhappy people, whatever it is, the opposite of how they feel. And I understand that. Because we want to portray something outside the externals for people to accept us as what they see. But deep down in their hearts, in their lives, they have probably some challenges and the difficulties. If you are emotionally intelligent, you don't just read the nonverbal communication. Remember, you relate to this person. You have this kind of social skill, develop the relationship, going deeper, just reading, but going through a personal, at a personal level, where can you really understand this this person. I remember when I was working in middle schools, we have some difficult students, and we want to understand why these students are so difficult. So we decided, the committee decided, maybe it's good to visit the home of the students. Okay, it's not necessarily that they're looking for mistake, making for problems, but to understand what's happening there. And not only that, students are so excited to see us going to their home, talking to the parents, and the parents, have some chat with them. But we are not only talking about, we didn't just go there and say, your son have this problem and we want to know. Okay, we don't want to be direct that way. We go there and say, we just want to visit, you want to, know where they are living and get to know you, and we can build good relationship. And once you build that kind of relationship, parents started to trust us. Oh, these teachers, they are not only teaching in school. They like us. They come to our home. And they start to be more opening to what struggles they have. So that's how we develop those relationships. I mean, there are many other ways to do so, but one of the things is build a trust relationship, genuine, not just artificial, fake one. Yes. I don't know if I have addressed your questions, but I'm sure some other people may have this experience that can help.
Thank you, Doc, for that wonderful idea.
You're welcome. Another questions there. Emotional intelligence innately correlated to one's personal temperament? I believe so. I believe so. But this temperament can be also improved through experience, years of experience, and you've gone through certain stages. I'm telling you, when I was young, I was very quiet. I was very timid. I was shy. I didn't even want to talk in front of people because that's the last thing I would do in life. But through experience, I given the opportunity to stand before people. I was a member of one of the Pathfinder club there, and I was quiet. And then they decided, oh, can you be the director of this club? No, I said no. Eventually, this opportunity, this sets of events that taking place help me to overcome that shyness, being so introvert. So that's helped me somehow develop, develop my temperament or personality. That can be through experience, but takes time. Anything that is not anything that needs improvement, overcoming from one place to another place, we need to allow the time to take place.
Dr. Nalton, I have a question or a comment.
Oh yes, Daniel. Yeah.
Hi. Danny Dial, and I'm here in the Philippines.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I
Go
can.
ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Make it a little bit loud.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, Dr. Nalton, I've noticed I like the presentation on the Christian perspective of emotional intelligence. But I've noticed that Dr. Daniel Coleman has very similar thoughts and ideas about emotional intelligence, and in relation to the Dale Carnegie program. I don't know if you're aware of that, the Dale Carnegie program from New York.
No, I've not come across with that yet.
Anyway, I took that, by the way.
Okay.
I took that Dale Carnegie from New York, and for about 3 months, and also 1 month in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've noticed again that the ideas of Coleman are about the same as the Dale Carnegie program, except that the Dale Carnegie does not have a Christian slant on it. But my point is this, that if you have also a training like what they have from the Dale Carnegie program, that most managers and most leaders are successful or have been successful. In fact, here in the Philippines, there is the Asian Institute of Management in Manila, in Makati area, and they are the ones that are really products of good emotional intelligence background. So that's why I said I'm thankful that you have a Christian perspective on this, and I'm happy that this topic has again come back, because I can see the relationship also again with this, with the Dale Carnegie program.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel, for your input, your sharing. There's so many of these philosophies and theoretical and leadership actually already been founded in the Bible, but maybe because of the studies in the contemporary
also,
aspect. Yeah. For example, servant leadership. Servant leadership is not actually founded in a Christian perspective, but by looking at this servant leadership is so parallel to Jesus' servant leadership. Yes. So I'm saying that this probably this
from
EQ, emotional equations. Jesus has been highly emotional intelligence. And you remember he meets with the poor, he meets with the sinners, because he has so understanding of the struggles. He has these passions, motivations. He has the social skills. I mean, that's all that basically. But as Christians, I look at this emotional intelligence in the Christian perspective, because my philosophy theories is founded in Christian perspective, but they are very similar. They are, in fact, they are like photocopy of each other. Like you've been saying about this, another what do you call it? You mentioned, I forgot. But I believe that as Christians, we have the obligation to reach out, to empathize, to socialize, and we are geared with this motivation to help our young people, people around us, to create a sense of unity, a teamwork that founded in the goals that we have, reaching the goals that we have. Let's say if you're in a school, you need to know your vision, your mission, the goal of your school. That's what you're working for. And without knowing that goal, the vision as a team, I'm not saying that we do exactly the same thing, but all the things you do in school are going toward that goal. We may do different ways, but this is one thing that I always, I always passionate about this EI, and in my department, I'm saying that I'm able to implement all of this. But when I was asked to be assigned to be the dean of the department, one of the things that come in mind is we got to work as a team, as a unit. There is no above the others. We are different. We have different roles, different responsibilities, and everyone work for that goal. And I'm the dean. I have a different responsibility. There's a janitor there. She has a different responsibilities, but we are all working for the same mission. So teamwork, unity, and this EI help me actually implement that in a way that I don't know if I'm able to make them feel comfortable or feeling that we are working together. And the same thing in your schools. Every teacher has challenges in there. But remember, you are working as a team. Dr. Libata's students is someone's students too. Okay, don't say that your student and his student is our students. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. As any kind of intelligence, whether it's emotional intelligence or any other kind of intelligence, there's tendency for those who have very high intelligences to be able to be manipulative. And
Yes,
you have
yes.
pointed that out here, that there is a tendency for those who have high intelligences to be manipulative, because knowledge is power. And so when you have the power, you can easily use that to manipulate or to even influence people. That's why in the Dale Carnegie program, they say how to win friends and influence people. Most of those ideas, again, are all embodied in what Coleman has also expressed in his writings. So
That's true.
I'm seeing that,
Yes, that's very true.
they can easily use that to manipulate
Yeah, right.
people, but it's good to manipulate, especially for correct objective. I mean, for a worthy objective, because if we don't use that to manipulate also our workers, nothing, there will be no change.
That's true. And the word manipulative is, it sounds like a negative way.
That's right.
But
Yes.
because the manipulative is centered in yourself, it's your own interest, right?
Yes.
But if you look at the manipulative in a way that is for the good of the institution, it's not for me, for the good of for God's missions. I was asked a few weeks back about my leadership. I said, when I work as the dean of department, I don't see that I'm working for the department alone. I am working for the university. We can get caught up with we only looking after our own department, and that is the only thing that you care about, and that's going to be very dangerous, because you have to go beyond that. You have to look at it. I'm working for that school, and then beyond that, actually, I'm working for the Lord. This is not it's not for the AIU alone. God has a purpose for this institution, and I'm working for the Lord. When you have the kind of mindset, in fact, it releases you of a stress, release of you the obligation in such a way that I have to make sure my department is doing well. But this is actually a work of many units. Your department affect me, my department affect me, your department affect me. In a way, we are working for the institution. So manipulative, yes, I mentioned it earlier. If you are not aware of that, we need to be very careful with. And once you have the emotional intelligence, basically you're aware of why I do this thing. Is this for me? Is this for the sake of my own interest? Or is this for the betterment of everyone? I think that should be leading that direction. Thank you, Dr.
Wonderful. Beautiful concept.
One last comment.
Go ahead, Doctor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, maybe the term is manipulative, but the thing is, as a leader, you have to steer, the ship. In other words, as a leader, you are supposed to look straight ahead. You cannot be distracted by people who cannot feel and who cannot emote and who cannot understand where you are headed for. You see, so that's why I said we have to do some manipulation in whatever way we call it, but we have to, because it's steering. That's why the Bible says in Proverbs that let thy eyelids look straight ahead. And that's the advice to leaders, to look straight ahead and not be easily distracted by employees that are out there to distract whatever you are headed.
Yes. Let me mention a little bit of that, address a little bit of that. When we are selling our ideas, okay, or try to get everyone into the idea. As one of the elements of working as a team, we need to present what it is. Because unless your employees are not buying that, they're going to be always a challenge. So we need to convince that this is how we are doing. And at the end of the day, we are working together. You know, if you are not convinced with that, you probably give your 50% of your effort only. Yeah, we are unique in so many ways, individuals. We have different ways of doing things in there. But for me, as a leader, I just want to ensure that everyone knows the goals and the vision and the missions of the schools and institution. We may do different ways, but we don't lose sight of the goal. We always reach and accomplish that goal, whatever we have. Because sometimes it's hard to what do you call it, pull people here that doing, you only do cooperative learning. How we learning earlier, right? We only do direct teaching, or you only do experiential learning. I mean, all these teachers have different strengths, I believe. Some are more experienced in direct teaching, some are more experienced in collaborative or cooperative or research experiential. Why don't we use all this strength and put it together as a team? And the students will be richly blessed because they experience all these things, because we're all reaching the same goals. Okay, it's gonna be difficult for leaders to see that, because sometimes we only see one way, all right? But we also need to be open up with other people's way, but ensuring they are on the same track to reach the goal. Yes.
One last, I'm sorry, Aguinaldo, I'm sorry to dominate here the questioning, but somebody had alluded or noted here, what about gender difference?
Okay.
Emotional intelligence between genders. Does it matter, or is there a role to play especially in balancing emotional intelligence?
Okay, there is actually a research I forgot to mention earlier, that female are more they're found more emotionally intelligent, female. This is a research. It's not I hope that, you know, it's not like I wish that men's are more emotionally intelligent. But I guess the roles, the gender, the roles of a female are more motherly, you know, I don't know. But it's a research, since you're mentioning about gender. I even did a research on socially responsible leadership, people who are more responsible for their social and community. And it is found that female are more emotionally intelligent, are socially responsible leaders. So it's a blessing for the ladies, for the female. But I'm not saying that male is not in that group. We have many of them, but I guess we are created uniquely. I mean, we have different roles, you know. So we can read more about why they are more emotionally intelligent people. I met ladies who are very cranky too, you know. Very hard to deal with too. I mean, it's not like everyone have that intelligence, but it's not easy to deal with too, you know. And I find many men also are very in that category. So, but in general, based on the research, yeah, it seems like female has more percentage in general than men.
Dr. Danny, your point is well taken to move further, like creating kind of workshop training manual simplified one for Asian context. And Dr. Naltan, your insights have been very solid. And I think in the Bible, Abigail was having higher EI, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, than Nabal, if you recall. And maybe Elizabeth has higher EI than Zacharias. Zacharias did not believe, and he became he was down for the whole time until the time when the baby was born. Now, it will be difficult for me, Dr. Naltan, to go up higher because this is a stage. No? I must first be having that self-awareness for me to go up to the second stage of self-regulation. Then once I get self-regulated, I can move to the next stage of motivation. Then when I have that, and I can go to the next stage of being possibly being exercising the skill of empathy, right? Then get up to the highest level of social skills. Now, if I develop such, then I will reach a certain level of successes in my earthly experiences. But that can also influence my relationship with others and relationship upstairs. But humanly speaking, the humanistic side of it would be very impossible, to depend upon me alone. But your text there, I can do all things through Christ. That's the beauty of that. In Christ, nothing is impossible. And there will be more experiences for you young people to go up higher. And the favors, the blessings of the most powerful spirit can be on you. And it's not impossible because you're not alone. Yes, some of you may be struggling along this line. Now, the result of your EI test should be validated by your wife if you are married, or your colleagues. Yeah, I'll have to ask my wife because we tend to perceive higher than what others. You see the blind spots we have.
Yes.
So we need to be open. And I like the concept of I work for God, not for anybody, not for somebody. But the point is, the reality, you are still on earth. I am still on earth, right? And we have to build that relationship horizontally and, of course, vertically. By the way, Dr. DL is my co-chair in the advisory board of the ATELA, and with the members around all having doctoral degrees, and we are very glad. Dr. Naltan, I also work with Dr. Naltan in his department with Dr. Josephine. I like the concept. I know the concept that when things are done, we don't say because of me, right? All the credits to me, huh? Yeah, you are. That's nice, Dr. Naltan. So the credit should be on others if possible. And someone always tells me upstairs, and they say credits belong upstairs.
Thank you, Dr. Libato.
Yes,
Thank you, Dr.
yes,
Libato. But it looks like Mr. Rolly Obidencio is more of on the side of ladies, more elevated in their emotional intelligence.
I like that promotion, Doc.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you,
That's
yeah,
what
we
I
can
noticed.
always, yeah, we
in
can
his
always
comments.
strive for this, but I know it's not easy, but the Holy Spirit would be able to.
Amen. Amen.
We need to ask the
Now,
Holy Spirit to help us.
by the way, before we hand out our thank you to Dr. Nautan, I'd like to uh, promote and invite all of you to become the core members. Good number of people here. We have been maintaining 63 until the end to 67 to be part of the core members of the ATELA. We'll be including eventually institutional membership. We have a lot here. For now, it's for free. And we will be moving toward a direction of having uh, a bigger contribution in building up our workplaces to become better workplaces, highly help the workplaces we have to a higher level of performance. And
Good idea,
we will be
Dr.
encouraging all
Libato.
to,
Good
yes,
idea.
yeah,
Think
we'll
tank.
be encouraging all to work with excellence more than you are paid for. And when you do that, your employers will find ways to promote you, and God will just catapult you in some ways. You never know where you will arrive and you will reach. So we want you to be the best workers in your workplaces, building up people, lives around you, make the best contribution and do the best. We love all of you and we want you to be part of this. We'll be emailing you next in March, every 2 months, the last Sunday of March, same time, but we need your suggestions. We'll be getting into motivation, leadership, all these critical issues, communication for you to become better people, better workers, better citizens, and improve also your directions in life. Clarity of purpose, according to Dr. Nelson. Clarity of purpose is important, and with persistent focus, we will make the best contribution and helps in making this world a better place. That's why we'll look at more on construction, the the concept of social construction eventually. And so please join us next when we have another meeting. Every month we shall have the last Sunday dedicated for this. We are thanking all of you, Indonesia, scattered around Asia, joining us in this ATELA International webinar. Thank you, Dr. Naltan. And we'll have the last chance for those of you who will stay by after our presentation to Dr. Naltan. We'll still go on having exchange of ideas here and some suggestions. Okay. Max, are you around?
Yes, we did the IT now. I think they have something ready for Dr. Naltan. Okay, yeah, here on screen. Well, let me give this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Naltan Lampadan for imparting his knowledge and expertise in emotional intelligence leadership principles as a guest speaker during the ATELA International webinar held via Zoom platform on November 16, 2022, given the 16th of January 2022, signed by Adelino T. Libato, PhD, Reben D. Huilar, NPH. Thank you so much, Dr. Naltan. I have learned a lot, and it's really important for, regardless of our gender, nationality, age, whatever that is, it's important to really upscale or upgrade our AI so we will be more effective and make a difference in our workplace, or even especially in the educational workplace or school. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this topic.
Amen, Sir Rolly. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank
Let's
you
give
for
a
the
round of
privilege.
applause again to Dr. Naltan and to all of us. Thank you so much, Dr. Naltan, and we look forward to more opportunities. Next time, we'll be inviting the education giants also, Dr. Danny Dial and Dr. Joe Dial. They have been in the US working, and South America, Africa. We'll get them here one of these days. And please give us your recommendations, suggestions to make this international webinar more successful and more useful to all of you. And I'd like to thank Rolly here, Ribbon, Max, Sherwin, and Kurt. They have been behind all our team, and these will be the moving spirit in our program here. Thank you so much for your time, and let's look forward. Dr. Danny, do you have any parting message?
Uh, well, I really enjoy this exercise of minds who have some understanding about EI, because this is a topic very much needed now, especially for leaders and for employees as well. And for, because it looks like there's a need really at this stage, because we're also affected by the environment around us, and it's easy to be slack and to be behind in these aspects of leadership. Yes. So thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate Dr. Ade for inviting me to be part of this meeting.
And you are part of the team too. And we have Dr. Naltan, Dr. Josephine, who will always be the big people here. Anytime we need help, they are there. Okay, Dr. Naltan, thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr.
Thank you so much.
Josephine and all
God
of
bless
you,
you all.
just thank you. You have given the best and solid stuff for all of us to grow professionally. We are here to build up the young professionals to become better contributors to society and to their workplaces.
Captain
Any
Cup,
more
Dr. Ade.
parting messages? Any more questions? Those of you who want to ask questions after the prayer, or
Yes.
we will still entertain.
Yes.
Dr. Rolly, Pastor Rolly.
Okay, we thank you all so much, especially our presenters and the organizers of this ATELA, Dr. Livato, and also with the members of the team. Before we close this meeting right now, we appreciate that you give your feedback. There's a link given right there. Yes, by our one of our IT team members, Kurt. And yeah, we would appreciate that, so we can even have a more exciting presentation next time, the next few months from now. And also, yes, stay by for those who would like to have more interaction and questions related to the topics. And now let's give the chance to Sherwin to give us to close this meeting with a prayer.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you so much for this beautiful opportunity given us to learn more about how we can improve our relationship with our students, and also we can improve our dealings with the people around us, especially when it comes to a professional ethics. The Lord, we've learned a lot. We've learned about the value of education. We also learn about emotional intelligence and so much, the Father, this afternoon. May all the things that we've learned here will have a place in our lives to change the perspective, as well as to become a channel of inspiration to our students and Father. Once again, we thank you for ATELA. We thank you for the core. We thank you, the Father, for the participants who've come and given their time to listen and be part of the success of this webinar today. Father God, we look forward for more activities like this, more webinars like this. We look forward, Father, to for you to join us and bless us as we move forward for a brighter future ahead. Thank you, Lord, for everything. Thank you for Jesus Christ. In His name we pray. Amen and amen.
By the way, before you go, may I just say a few words? One, we need your suggestions. If you don't want this webinar to be free, because now it's for free. Last year it was for free. If you want this to be something that you want to pay, you can choose to donate to SCOS for orphan scholarship. Second, if you want to have certificates for the Ministry of Education or whatever be the purpose you intend, we'll be requesting you to donate some amount for the orphan scholarship of the Kanchanaburi area. Not very big amount. Maybe 200 more or less, just for the material and the labor, because it's good. Those of you who need, and we will be requesting you also to prepare your own expertise. If you have some material to present, share with us, and we will give you time. We can team up with very highly qualified guy in the field you want. So you can present. We want you to develop, especially the younger ones, to develop your skill in speaking public. It's a good thing that we have this. That's why we want you to participate. Don't be shy to raise your hands and participate. Okay, let's get down to some question and answers, and whatever questions you have, we'll be glad to respond. The official ATELA has ended, and it's only slated for allotted for 4 to 4:30. So you may be dismissed, but those of you who have questions or contributions,